We are rolling.
We are rolling.
And we are going to start the conception of the PBE podcast with a special guest. One off air that was kind of like, you know what, we need to just make it clear. He's going to go by PapaJoe, 24 years experience, drilling wells, unconventionals, unbelievable story that's about to be told. And we're going to refer to him as PapaJoe. What do you think, Skips?
I like it. I mean, I guess we'll touch on this more, later on, but as most of the listeners on the show are geoscientists, maybe they'll go out to the rig to see, wireline being run or core, right? But no one really understands the ins and outs of what's going on the ground, boots on the ground, and the logistics behind making it all work. And that is probably the most important part. That's really what makes this happen, right? Is making sure everything's on site when it is needed and it's off site when it's not needed.
Sheesh. If you're disconnected from what's happening on your well and where you're trying to land that well and get hydrocarbon out of that well, if you're disconnected from that process and you're not talking with PapaJoe daily or people like him daily, you're outside of your mind. You're
100%.
outside of your mind. Engineers are doing it. Engineers obviously have good relationships, but geoscientists, I would question it.
No, I would doubt it. And if someone says they do, I'd call BS on it.
Yeah. And PapaJoe, what do you think about that? Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's accurate because the engineers that have more in and outs, and they're actually calling the consultant, see what's going on and how's the operations going, and telling them what to do, basically,
Yeah.
on a daily basis. So definitely, engineers, they're more into it than
geoscientists.
Yeah.
Whereas the geologists, you got a geoprog, you're following it, and geologists kind of just watching the...
It's like there's no rock up there. I mean, that's probably their thoughts going into it. But in reality, everything that's going on the surface has everything to do with what's happening in the subsurface, right?
That's time zero, essentially, man. Right when we break into that reservoir with the drill bit, every little change that's happening is being driven by the rock and by the reservoir. Everything, pressure differences, mud loss, all that stuff means something, and it's all coming directly from this formation, 200 million year old formation that's never been touched before. And now we're drilling into this thing and depressurizing, causing all these problems. And then PapaJoe's up at the top going, all right, we just lost pressure, we got weight off it, all these things are happening, and it's coming from the reservoir. I mean, that's the story. That's God telling us what's going on in this reservoir right at the drill bit. Be live with that.
Tell him PapaJoe.
Right
on the surface.
You call that a drilling break. You go into a drilling break.
A little drilling break?
It's a drilling break. You drill into a shell that's like never been drilled before, right? And it's got pressure behind it. So once you drill into it, you can see that your ROP is starting to speed up, your weight indicators losing weight, and is that formation talking to you?
Yeah.
You have to be.
And we got Jocelyn in the room covering for P-Dog, and she just pulled up an image for us to take a look at. So this is kind of a cartoon schematic of just, I would imagine, just kind of fundamentally what a drilling rig looks like and kind of the operations. You can see the mud pit number 19. 21 looks like the mud shakers. What's that called? Yeah, the shell shaker. 22. So what we're going to do, PapaJoe, and what we want to hear is kind of, I don't know, just kind of how this is all put together. I mean, you build these every time you need to drill a new well. Boom, you're the one organizing all the logistics of putting this thing together.
Breaking it down and putting it back together within a time gap, which it's 3 days and a half. So the time the rig is released, the time it's back in company time. So
that's like your PR, right, Dad?
Excuse me?
That's like your personal record?
Oh, yeah. We have to break this baby down and put it all together. You got to have all the trucking company, all the equipment needed in order to meet this gap,
Yeah. Multiple companies rolling in, everybody trying to be on the same page.
Yep.
Someone gets a flat tire out on the highway and just everything's on a halt.
You got to have backup trucks, trucks ready to be fixed right there on site, and everything that goes with it. So
and the way these trucks, Dad, how they go in through those like small narrow roads, it's crazy. And it's like they're narrow roads. I don't know how these rigs going through that.
And they're not just this regular 18-wheeler truck. They're huge. They're big.
Mm-hmm.
They're about 8 foot up in the driver's cabin sits about 8 foot up your head, so he can't see you when he's driving around on the rig. So you got to be aware of that and stress that to the guys in the morning meeting that you got to have a buffer zone when these big trucks are running around the location, setting equipment around, and you just got to be real careful.
Sheesh. Okay, so we all know, and all the listeners know that we're putting this drill bit. It's got these crazy diamond teeth on them, and then we're about to go into the subsurface with this thing. And that drill bit has to be spinning like crazy, and it's going to be eating up that rock. That's the fun. That's it. We're drilling into the subsurface. So how would you break this picture down? No, and get into that final point. You're ready to drill a hole.
Okay, so when we complete the rig move, or towards going to complete the rig move, when you got all your equipment together and you function test that all the equipments are working, so you start from your gen package, that's your power package, that's what give power to the whole rig, and you go up to the rig floor, make sure all your Amphion computers are all good to go, all your hydraulics are working, everything's we have an inspections we go by before we tell the operator, you know what, the rig it's on y'all. It's on y'all's time now.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, we got to make sure everything's functioning, right? Because you don't want to turn in the rig to the company when it's half-assed rigged up and half-assed working, because it don't work that way. It's got to be 100% working when you tell the guy, you know what, here we are. We're in company time now.
Because that operator didn't pay for half a rig.
Exactly.
So
they're paying there. It counts by the second, by the minute, by the hour. They want that rig going. When you move that rig, it's got to be 100% rigged up and ready to go.
Damn.
By the time you tell them. So that being said, you do that. So you see that number 10 right there. That right now they have the BOPs, the blowout preventers. But when you spud in, it's just a straight pipe that we put on the conductor. It's a riser basically, and then a flow line that comes back to the shaker, which is number 21, right?
Okay, yeah.
So we do that. By that time, we're already in company time, and then by that time we're doing all that stuff. The guys are getting all the bits, the stabilizers, the mud motors, which is called the BHA bottom hole assembly. They're getting it ready, strapped and ready to go. They put it over here where you see that number 23, that's your V-door. Over here to this side, there should be some pipe racks. That's where you have all your pipes set, right? So behind your BHA goes your pipe, right?
Yep.
While we're rigging this up, you can have the other guys be setting everything up. So when it comes time, everything's there. You don't wait another hour or two.
So when you're blowing and going and that ROP gets going, right, and you're starting to go through formations quick, you're ready to go.
200 feet an hour.
Yeah.
What's the fastest you've ever had an ROP?
Well, it can go. I mean, it all depends where you're drilling at, right? South Texas, you got the Eagle Ford. You're drilling 300 foot an hour.
300 feet an hour.
Yeah, it's that baby's going. You're making connections like crazy. Right?
That's a massive amount of rock being cut in an hour.
So before we do that,
30-story
you make up the
building.
BHA and all that stuff. You make the bit BHA, and then you tag bottom, which is the conductors only drill like about 100 feet.
Yep.
So you make up your BHA, which actually is going to be like 100 feet of a BHA. You got your bit, your stabilizer, button motor, Monels, MWD tools, and all that stuff. So basically, you build all that stuff and you start drilling. Yeah, you start making hole. Yep. But when you start drilling, you want to start with a slow RPM, slow ROP, and a slow pump rate, because y'all shallow on the surface. If you put those pumps to it, if you kick that pump on the ash, and you start drilling real fast, so what you do, you're going to wash out that surface, right?
Yeah.
So you just want to contain it. You get about 300 feet. Once you drill 300 feet, you're just gradually picking it up. Once you're 1,000 feet, you can kick that baby in the ass and, open it up, because you want to drill that surface hole, which is from 100 feet to 1,000 feet. To 3,000 feet. You want to kick that baby. You want to get it drilled as fast as you can.
Fast and as clean as possible.
As clean as possible, safe as possible. You want to drill that baby within 18 hours. Want to be turning around and be running casing, right?
Damn, surface casing.
Yeah, surface casing. Yeah. So you want to actually have a goal. Start drilling surface, 24 hours, you're nippling up. Start drilling intermediate. 3,000 all the way to wherever you at. Depends on what region you are.
Yeah.
It could be, from 3,000 all the way to 7,000. Could be 10,000, 11,000 before you kick off. You drill your intermediate, and then you start building the curve, your lateral, and start drill your lateral.
Okay, so before we get to the lateral and we start kicking off like that, for us on the geoscience side, the second you start drilling, we're kind of putting the subsurface back together based on the cuttings that are coming out. We got our mud logger out there, and he's catching samples off that shaker, and we're hitting this red clay and then this sand and then, these different limestones and different things. These things are coming up, and that all means something. We're trying to recreate the strat column of the subsurface while that's coming out. When you're going 300 feet in an hour, those cuttings are moving up that drill bit and that whole column of drilling tubing or whatever that's called, right?
Yep.
That stuff is just shooting out of this hole.
Because you got those pumps wrapped up, maybe 100 strokes of each pump. You got 2 pumps, and you got a flow coming out of 30 to 40, maybe 50% flow out of a 10-inch pipe. So just imagine how fast that baby's coming out of it. 10-inch pipe, and you got 50% coming out of it. You're kicking in the ass and bringing all those cuttings. So when you're drilling that fast, the smartest thing to do to drill like 300 feet, right, and then just circulate there. But you might want to ream your pipe, up and down maybe 100 feet, get some of that shell out of the hole. Because if you drill it too fast, you're drilling too fast, and you ain't displacing that shell out of the hole. So the chances are that you're gonna pack off. When you pack off. So when that happens, you pack off, your hole packs off, and you're putting pressure down the hole, you're gonna break down formation. That's one of the things that can happen. So you got to be wise on that and know what you're doing. So
the clays are coming out from the drill bit, going up around the annulus or whatever they call it. Boom, exactly. The cuttings are coming up, and they almost lithified and they get stuck and they start packing in.
Well, it doesn't really start packing in. It's whenever you turn off your pumps, so all your cuttings start going back down, right?
Oh, okay.
And the ones that are going up, they're just packing up. So you're just packing up.
So you got these cuttings coming down. Meanwhile, it's trying to circulate. Right. Now it's jamming in there.
Yeah, jamming in there. So that's why it's good to drill. You can drill as fast as you want, right? You got to have a in between they call it circulate. This could circulate the shell out.
Yeah.
It could be 10, 20 minutes, but the operator don't want you to stop drilling.
Oh, yeah.
Right. They just want to kick in.
They're like, hey, this is time.
But you can do it there. You can drill that once down, which is 100 feet. You can back ream it, right, and just go back down, which will take about 5-10 minutes. You can do it sooner.
Nice. You clean that up real quick.
Clean that hole a little bit. Clean that hole from all that clay, or that time is shell. Excuse me. You want to get all that cleaned up by the time you kick it in the ass again. Yeah.
Damn.
Hell yeah.
So now you're setting intermediate casing. You usually set intermediate before you start the lateral?
Well, you can start, it all depends, where you're at. Like I said, what region or what the operator wants. But you can start kicking the lateral when you're drilling the intermediate. You can kick it. You can put it probably a 20-degree angle, maybe 30, 40, whichever they call for. And then you pull out, and then you run your casing. Mm-hmm. And then when you're drilling your lateral, that's when you finish your curve. You land your curve with an 80-degree angle, and then you just kick it from there. Take it, and keep that angle with what the geologist is looking for.
Right. Yeah. We got the geoprog. You guys are on track. Trying to stay on.
And for most companies, right, that's when the geologists actually start paying attention.
Yeah,
right. Because once that first surface and intermediate section, I feel like a lot of companies are like, well, that's just whatever, right?
Get
through that as fast as we can, so we can get to the lateral, right? But at the end of the day, that's all the data that we've been missing, right? All that data is now gone. All those cuttings,
it's a sad story. You're getting into a sad story. This is a happy story.
This is a happy. I'm sorry.
You're getting into a sad story. Okay, so I'm looking at all this equipment kind of surrounding the rig, the drilling rig. You got hydraulics, this mud motor. You got the mud pit. That thing's circulating. So those cuttings and that mud's coming out of formation as you're drilling. It's going into the mud, and it circulates back into the system to keep that mud going and keep it drilling.
Well, go ahead.
So sometimes what happens is a gas kick or a formation will kick with hydrocarbon, boom, and it comes out in the fluid. It comes out with the cuttings. It comes up the hole. It makes it in the mud pit. It'll actually travel through the mud pit and back into the system. And that gas sniffer that the mudlogger's watching for another formation kick, seeing if it's a potential reservoir, boom, you'll see it again. And it was actually just recirculated gas.
Yeah. So when that happens, you see that number 10 right there. That's your BOB preventers. When we actually hit a pocket, we actually circulate the whole, come through there. You shut this is your pipe. You shut your which is your top rams or your annular, and you open your, there's a valve in the bottom called the HCR valve, hydraulic control valve. And it goes through to that number 22, which is your choke manifold.
Yeah, what is that thing doing?
So that's right there. This controlling your pressure. When you have a gas kick, you go in through there, and you're regulating the pressure with the manifold on top. This is just called super choke manifold. Okay. And what you're doing, basically, you're just controlling the pressure, because you don't want to isolate all that pressure and close it all at once, because you're going to blow the formation out, right?
Yeah.
You want to consistently circulate that bubble out so you can keep on going.
Yeah.
Or a kick, whatever it is. So you go through that choke manifold, and it goes to that number 20. That's a gas separator.
Oh, it is.
So the gas separator,
okay.
it separates the gas and the fluid, right? So basically, you see that red line coming over here to close to the reserve pit. That's the flare line, and you're burning that gas. You're burning that gas while you're circulating through there, right? And so, like I said, basically you just separating all the gas and your liquid, and it goes back to your mud pits and back into the system.
Damn, you're just trying to relieve that pressure that just popped. Damn, what kind of hydraulic pressures are we talking about when we're on that that motor that's spinning that drill bit? All that pressure that's coming through those lines to get that thing spinning the way it is. How much pressure are we talking?
Well, that's not hydraulic pressure. That's pump pressure. We pump through the mud motor, right? So you're pumping 4,000 psi through them jets, right? So that's how much pressure is going through there. Yeah. It's coming out that bit. It's coming out those bits from the jets from bits. You basically got about 4,500. It all depends what the rig is equipped. You can have 5,000, 6,000 psi coming out of there.
Wow.
That's how much you're pumping in. Yeah.
You ever seen one of those things come up? This is a segue into the drill down segment, and we'll just talk maybe one story in your experience, 24 years of doing this. You ever seen one of those lines get like severed by something or come loose and just go crazy
on
at
surface
6,000?
line? Yeah, it could. I've seen a Kelly hose parted, but it's got some it's equipped for safety with the safety cables.
Okay.
So when it does happen, it just parts, right? Because it's a Kelly hose. Actually, it's a rubber hose. You know, equipped with the spiral with metal or wire, you can say.
Yeah, on the inside.
It's an inside. It's equipped and it's made for that PSI, to run that PSI. But, you know, the wear and tear, maybe on the rig move, it got damaged internally, but nobody could see it, right? So, yeah, I've had, before it happened on a rig that up on the derrick, which you got your probably number 3.
Yep.
Where it parted from, and it didn't completely part it, but just cut halfway. I mean, you had oil base coming, and we're drilling with oil base. I mean, it covered a whole backyard, you know, with oil base. By the time you want to catch that, you know, it's if you pump 5-10 seconds, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mud coming out of that. It's spraying through that cut. 4,000 psi.
Yeah, and depending on where you are, if you're drilling, 300 feet, right, an hour, then all of a sudden just
things screaming.
Yeah, it just come out screaming and spraying air all the location.
Oh, yeah. I bet your buddy with the pressure hose was pretty excited about that. He's like, I got something to do the rest of the day. Everyone get out of my way.
It's
pressure
probably
wash
about
the entire rig.
2 days of cleaning, cleaning the rig out. Yeah, getting some roustabout involved. A third party come and help us out because we got a well to drill, right? So we basically, that's what we do. We call a roustabout. The operator calls the roustabout crew, 6-man crew with maybe 6 pressure washers and clean the rig while we're drilling.
Wow. All right, so to end the conception part of this show, you got all this set up. You've successfully put together all the logistics from all the different companies that are providing the tools and providing this equipment and providing the people to come out here, build this thing, and to get to drilling. And now PapaJoe is in charge of this crew. And you are working the schedule, and you're making sure that the operator is getting what they paid for. or better than what they paid for, right?
Exactly.
A good clean hole, right to formation, ready for perforations and completions. When you get to that point and you're ready to go, when you're out on location, you know everybody that's out there. You know, from the guy that has zero experience to the guy that you trust that you can go with maybe a second opinion on.
Exactly.
So what does that actually look like on that side of this kind of the service side of the company of drilling rigs? You got someone with zero experience. What are they doing out there? Like what's their responsibility? What are their jobs? How does that work? And then how do they progress in their career to someone like you that's pretty much a consultant type, so much experience and a driller that knows what they're doing, and no matter where you put it, where we put you?
Well, to be honest with you, when you got a zero experience hand, you just show up to a rig, it's just a red flag for everybody, you know. Because
he's a liability, and everyone just knows.
Oh man, and I'm the one in charge to make sure he's everybody's keeping him safe, and it's just a liability, and it's just it's hard to keep have one of them guys to come in zero experience and to move on up, you know. It's just stressful. It's a stressful job to have those guys to come in.
I mean, that's what you did. That's what you did.
Yeah, I started back in '97. You know, so I started as a pit hand, and I'm pretty sure I was a pain in the butt with the guys that I was working with too, because it was a new hand. I never seen a drilling rig before in my life, and I didn't know what the pumps were. I didn't zero.
Wow.
You know?
Okay, so
meanwhile, you can break this down in every piece and every part that goes into every one of those numbers, and that's
in his sleep.
Right. Okay, so you got a pit hand. The pit hand's doing what exactly?
So the pit hands, you see in that drawing, so he's on those pits, which is number 21, 18, or 17, 18, and 21, right? So basically his job is weighing the mud coming out of the shaker to make sure that mud it's kept at the weight that we want it, you know, because the formation pressure might be greater than what our pressure is pushing it down, which will be a mud weight of a 10-pound mud weight, right? So his job is to weigh that mud coming out and going in to make sure we're keeping it the same weight all the way around.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh wow.
And check the viscosity too, right? Check the viscosity, and he will call it out on the phone and the mic, and keeping everybody aware that letting everybody know that the mud is still what we want it, what we wanted it for it to be. Because if it's lighter and we do hit a formation, and it's got pressure coming out of it, and it's gonna blow all that mud out. So it's an important job. Everybody's job there is important.
Right.
But you gotta make sure that that one hand, he knows, you know, what he's doing, what his job is, what's his job title.
And as someone who's drilled so many wells in South Texas and the Permian, you have a general understanding, when we get to about this depth, we're gonna hit a zone that's gonna be overpressured.
Exactly.
And so is that kind of where you get kind of worried for one of those new guys on the rig?
Well prepared. By that time, say like 7,000 feet, you know, we're going to hit this zone. So by that time, we already at weight to the mud, right? So we're ready.
Yeah.
We hit that formation that we want to get in. We're ready. We have that mud weight. But yeah, it's a concern that making sure that he's doing his job.
Yeah.
And the derrick man is doing his job, putting the weight to it. Make sure we got that weight by the time we get there, right?
Okay, so you got a pit hand.
Yeah.
And then
from there it goes to a floor hand.
Okay.
The floor hands, the floor hands are the ones that are working up there on the rig floor, making up the pipes, making up the connections, tying the connections, and keeping the floor clean. Basically, you know,
keep the floor clean.
Keep it clean as possible. But that's their job, you know. Pick up pipe, make connections, and here we go drilling.
So you got you got basically two guys around the Kelly bushing.
Yeah, those are the two floor hands.
Okay, and then you got somebody up in the nest feeding the pipe.
Yeah, that's a derrick hand. That's when we got all that pipe racked up. So like we already drilled a well, right?
Yeah.
And so there's multiple wells in a pad. So what we do, we pull out all that pipe, right, and we rack it up in the derrick, you know. So we'll be ready to prepare for the other well when we walk to it, right? Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, the derrick man has to go up there and get the pipe and latch it onto the elevator where the block is going up, right? He latches onto it, and there's 2 guys on the bottom holding the bottom end of the pipe. They'll hold it together, put it on the stump, make it up with the iron roughneck, and the driller is the one in the cabin, with all the controls. You got about maybe I'll say 4 to 5 monitors he's got to be watching, and it's all about pushing buttons, making a connection, and then turning on the pumps and opening valves before turning on pumps and stuff like that.
Damn.
So on the rig floor, we have a driller, the derrick man is up on top, and 2 floor hands, right?
Okay.
And there's a motor man too, which is basically he's the one that's making sure all the gen package, everything's running good.
Okay.
The motors ain't heating up. We got the supplies. You got the supplies, making inventories, all the supplies that we need, and keeping everything going for the rig. He's a run man. We call him the run man because he's the one that's doing all this stuff, bringing pipe to the pipe racks, filling up the pipes with pipe racks so we can keep on picking up pipes when we're drilling a new well. Right?
Wow.
When you're drilling a new well, of course you don't have all the pipe in the derrick because you're first drilling that first well, so you're building up a stats by picking up single joints from the rack. So the motor man, his job is to make sure the pipe rack is full of pipe.
Yep.
By the time we won't run out of pipe. We just keep on building, making sands, and drilling 100 foot an hour. I mean 100 foot at a time, because every time you got to make another hook, which is another connection. So yeah. So some operators will provide a 6-man crew, some 5-man crew. When it's a 6-man crew, that's when you have a pit hand. When it's a 5-man crew, he's only a derrick hand, which is, we'll start with a driller, derrick hand, motor, and 2 floor hands. So basically, the derrick hand, he's got to be doing all the things that the pit hand should be doing, weighing the mud,
Oh, snap.
mixing chemicals, and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's double trouble for him. Yeah. There's some operators over there, they're just going to pay for 5-man crew.
Yeah.
They ain't going to pay for a 6-man crew.
So it's about 5 or 6 people that are really kind of getting this thing to keep going.
Keep going.
Wow.
Yeah. Every
Okay.
12 hours. At 6 o'clock, relief comes.
There's 2 shifts.
Yeah.
There's 2 shifts. Yeah, they'll get relief, and the night crew will keep on going.
But that's not including you, right?
No.
That 5-6-man crew is not you.
No.
You're
No.
running the logistics for that 5-man, 6-man crew. You're making sure they're all just kind of getting that stuff just running.
Yeah.
Keep it running like a well-oiled machine. And then, so there's 2 of you then every 12 hours as well. Boom, boom,
No,
boom.
it's just me. I'll work 24 hours.
24/14.
24/14. When there's a chance to sleep, you'll sleep. Yeah.
Sleep when you can.
Yeah, sleep when you can. But like I said, if the rig is drilling good,
Yeah.
you don't have no problems. I mean, you're basically it's drilling good, so you don't have no problem. I mean, you can go sleep at night, right? But
Yeah.
if they're running into any problems that they have pump problems or top drive problems, any kind
ringing.
of problems they can't handle, they call me. I'm about a second away. They just push the button, get the phone. Hey, Joe, we need you out here, PapaJoe.
PapaJoe.
We got a problem.
We got a
PapaJoe.
problem. We lost pressure on this thing, or whatever the case is. And
whatever it is, up and surface equipment. That's my job. Make sure everything's good. If I don't have a backup part, gotta get on the phone,
Yep.
get on the computer and start ordering parts. To be there ASAP.
Wow.
So as fast as you can. As fast as they can get it out there, because it's a company, it's paying you for production. They ain't paying you just to be broke down, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, is all the employees that we just went through, that 5-6-man team plus you, is that all one company, or those are different companies that are providing the employees that are coming together for this well?
No. So you have the drilling rig, right? The drilling rig, when the operator makes a contract, it comes with a contract with the rig, with all the equipment needed to drill that well, plus the employees.
Wow. Okay.
So it's 10 employees, that they work on a 24-hour shift.
Yep.
So 5 work from 6 in the morning to 6 at the evening, and the other 5 guys, work from 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we got all the third party, right? We got the mud engineer, he's on site. So we got the consultants. So those are the ones working for the operator. We got the directional drillers. We got the MWD tool hands, and any other service hands that the operator needs out there. Right?
Mud logging.
He's got the mud logging, and then he's got the shell shakers guys. The shell shakers are the ones that we put underneath our shakers, right? They call them dry shakers, and there's another guy down there that the company will provide. The operator will provide for him to be moving all that shell around and be hauling it off. Actually, he's a control of a backhoe or an excavator, and they're just hauling
you
that.
don't want that in the you don't want that in the water.
No, so all this shell is coming out of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's all coming out from the shakers. Go to the dry shakers. The dry shakers is just to contain all the fluid, all to save all the fluid that the company can, right? And just get rid of all the shell. So the shell goes into an open top container, which will be probably about 20 foot by 8 foot wide. So everything falls in there, and the guy actually with the excavator getting all that stuff, and there's a haul trucks coming in, hauling all that shell off while we're drilling it down.
Where are they taking all that shell, man? That shell has all kinds of answers in it.
They have
all that.
They have a reservoir where they dispose all that stuff. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh man!
And they say nowadays they're using it for pavement and some kind. They got use for it now.
That's
back
good.
then. They would just they would build a big old pit and cover it up, right? So it's just dry shell. Now they say they got use for it now. So.
Man, okay. I think that was a phenomenal conception of this show, just kind of breakdown of everything. Basically, we'll go into the drill down segment of the show, which is going to be your career and really the mentors along the way, some crazy funny stories, whatever you want to share with us along the way of a 24-year history in the oil and gas industry, which is incredibly unique for, I think, all listeners and certainly for myself. So I'm really looking forward to that. Before we do the breakdown, the drill down segment, we got to give the opportunity for our drill down sponsor to say a few things, and we're going to run that commercial right now.